Hi there, Tracey Wynter here from Conscious Love and Relationships, and I really want to talk today about casual relationships, and particularly what happens when one person, being you in the relationship, wants to take it further and the other person doesn't really want to do that. And this was inspired by receiving an email from one of my newsletter subscribers who was in this particular dilemma. She was feeling a lot of love and connection with her partner in this unofficial, open, casual relationship, yet she wanted more from it. And he didn't have those same deep feelings as her and didn't want a commitment. And she was wondering, does she stay or does she go? Does she follow her heart or does she follow her head? What does she do? And it's a great question because I know that many people struggle with this. There's a lot more casual relationships out there today than there ever was. So it is a real relevant topic. And I know in the past I've struggled with it. And I'll talk a little bit about my story a little later on. But casual relationships, they're also called open relationships, friends with benefits, FBs, to put it really nicely. But they're all basically the same thing. They're a form or a semblance of a relationship that is usually sexual in nature, but doesn't have any form of commitment attached to it. Now, these type of relationships can be great. They can be really fun and fulfilling and really serve a purpose for a certain period or point of your life. And they can actually help you learn a real lot about yourself and help you to grow and develop as a person. However, problems do start to arise when there is one person in this scenario who wants more, who wants commitment, they're feeling the love, and the other person doesn't necessarily want that. And that's when problems can arise in this scenario. And it's important to remember, if you're the one who's wanting to take it further and the other person isn't, that it's not about the other person. You know, we can tend to put blame onto them or make them a bit wrong, saying, oh, they're obviously not ready to have a relationship, or they just actually can't see what's in front of them, they don't know what they want. Maybe if I stay with them, things are going to change. They're going to finally see the light at some stage. But I don't want to put the focus on them because it's not about them. It's really about you. And when we put the focus back onto you, we have to start to ask the questions, why are you in this type of relationship? But more to the point, why are you allowing yourself to be in a relationship that you're feeling this push and pull between your heart and your head? Should I stay? Should I go? I want more, but I'll just have to stay and be satisfied with this. It's a constant toing and froing with the heart, and it can be really, really hard. So why do we put ourselves through this? Well, and I'm going to be talking about the real underlying reasons, because there's a lot of external reasons, which you could probably think of yourself, but the real underlying unconscious reasons as to why we might put ourselves in this type of situation is basically because of our need for love. We so want to be loved, desperately inside of us, that we will basically do anything to feel loved. We will take any kind of scraps of love that we can get in order to feel that loved. You know, people do crazy things in order to feel love. And that's what can actually happen. How can I say this? Casual relationships can help us to feel that we're loved. Even if it's not necessarily the type of love, that the full love that we really want to receive, it's a little bit, and that's enough because that makes us feel loved. Another thing that casual relationships do is it almost creates a surrogate partner for us. You know, we feel a void, we're missing because we don't have a companion, a partner in our life, so we will fill it with someone to give us that illusion that we have a partner and connection. And that leads me on to something that definitely always happens when there's a sexual connection and sexual union between people, and that is it starts to develop and create an illusion of intimacy. People believe that they've got this really intimate, connected relationship with someone, but a lot of the times it's just purely a result from a sexual connection and the chemicals and reactions that happen in our body and our brain at that particular time in our hormones. So it can be a really, really tricky thing. So we will grasp whatever we can, whatever tiny form of love that we feel we're getting, just so we can feel loved. You know, and there's another thing at play, which is also our little internal love addict, I like to call it, and that's that part of us that really wants that happy ending. It wants to feel that someone's going to choose us, that's going to love us, and that we're going to feel real special by it. We're going to feel loved by it. So if someone finally turns around and goes, what am I thinking? It's you that I want to be with. Let's have this relationship. That is going to make you feel special and really loved in a big way. So we almost hold on to this hope, hold on to this fairy tale that this is going to happen because we so want that in our heart. Now, the other thing that's in play as to why we keep ourselves in this situation is our levels of self-love and our levels of self-worth. Now, you might be saying to yourself, I deserve to have a wonderful, beautiful, loving relationship, and I know I deserve that. But I have to ask the question, do you really think you deserve that? Because the truth is, if you really felt like you deserved that type of relationship, then you would have it. It's really kind of simple as that. So it would indicate to me that there's a part of you that doesn't believe you deserve this big, wonderful, juicy, committed relationship because you don't have it right then and there. So my suggestion is obviously to do some work around increasing your levels of self-worth or self-love, and also do some work around some of the beliefs that you have about yourself or about love that is keeping you stuck in the paradigm of not having the full amount of love that you absolutely desire. Now, it's easy for me to say that because it wasn't always that way for me. I did have a casual relationship with someone for over a period of 2 years it spanned. And when it started off, it was great. It was exactly what I wanted and I needed. But of course, I developed feelings for this man, and I liked him a lot and developed feelings of love towards him. And I wanted more out of the relationship. Now, he was always open and honest with me right from the start. He'd been hurt in a relationship previously, and he didn't want to be in a relationship again for quite some time. And I think I must have had my ears blocked when he was telling me this. But it was okay. I still stayed there. I wanted that feeling of love. And about a year into it, what actually happened in that particular time of the year, I had just discovered breath work, and I was uncovering so much about myself that I had no idea existed inside myself. And one night he turned up on my doorstep without me inviting him over. I actually said no, I didn't want him to come over, but he showed up. And it invoked some feelings in me. And I kind of thought, Tracey, what are you doing? What am I putting out to the universe? I'm basically saying to the universe that it's okay to have this man here next to me, and it's okay for me to be second best. And you know what? It's not okay for me to second best. So I actually told him to leave that night, and I made him leave in the pouring rain and thunderstorm. It was a little bit dramatic, but that's just how it went. And so that was it. I decided that I deserved more. Yet I ran into him, a few months later, randomly out one night. And of course we started talking again, the talking led to more, and the casual relationship started up again. This time it lasted for about 6 months before I decided that I definitely had to end it, and I ended it. And then of course a few months later the talking started up again, and I can see it heading down the same track. And I really had to stop it right then and there. And I actually ended up taking a pair of sunglasses I had of his and putting in his letterbox with a little card thanking him for being part of my life thus far and wishing him well for the rest of his life. And I knew then and there that I needed to make that break because it was so difficult for me to make that break over those years. And I deleted his phone number. Now, there was many times after that I wish I hadn't deleted his phone number, and they were particularly in those times when I was feeling really lonely or alone or after a couple of drinks usually. But the funny thing is, I found his phone number when I was cleaning out some files on a computer about a year later. And I was single at that time, and so there was a bit of a flutter in my heart thinking, I could contact him now. Yet I decided to stay strong, stay true to my purpose of wanting to be in a loving, fulfilling relationship, and I didn't contact him. And I'm so glad that I didn't, because my life is so much better and more richer for it right now. But I wanted to share that story with you because I wanted to acknowledge that it is hard to break away from this type of relationship, particularly if you are feeling like there's a strong and deep connection or even like a soulmate type relationship with this person. And I have to mention, even if there is a soulmate relationship with this particular person, it doesn't necessarily mean that just because you're soulmates, and remember we have many soulmates, that you need to be with them in a relationship this lifetime. There's always that funny fine line there. So if you really want to be in a relationship, then you might need to break it off with this particular person, because remember I mentioned before, it can be a bit of a surrogate partner. When there's someone in that space and there's no room for the space of a real relationship to come in, the world, the universe loves a vacuum. So if you decide to create a space for that relationship to come in, then it will come in for you. So it might be time to do that. Now, if you do that, if you decide to make a break and choose that you want a loving relationship, be prepared for this person that you're in a casual relationship to turn around and say that they perhaps do want to be in a relationship with you. But I want you to check if they're for the right reasons. If they really had a wake-up call and believe that, yep, you're the person for me, then fantastic. But there is something that can happen when someone breaks this particular type of dynamic. When the person who wanted the relationship to start with, which I usually call, they might be in the love addict mode, really wanting that love and relationship. If they all of a sudden decide to stop that chase after the other person, then the other person who is avoiding love, avoiding the commitment, might all of a sudden feel they're not getting their love needs met. So then they will turn into the chaser and want the other person and want to be in a relationship. And it's not necessarily for the right reasons, that they believe that they're the person that's going to bring them the best relationship in the world, but because they've wanting to fill that hole, that need for love at the same time. So I want you to be really wary of that cycle that can begin to happen. If you decide to break, be strong, set your boundaries. If you do go back to them a couple of times like I did, be kind and gentle to yourself, because it is a full-on thing. It's a really hard process. But commit to yourself, commit to what you really want in a relationship, and stay strong to yourself. Now, if you decide to stay in the relationship and keep going because it's filling a lot of your needs right now, that's fine. But just be careful of why you're doing it. And make sure that if you really want a relationship, then you've got to put yourself first. I want you to be number one. The other thing I wanted to mention was just don't fall into being in a relationship, because a lot of people that I have casual sexual relationships just tend to fall into being in a relationship. They don't actually consciously choose that person, because that person is actually going to be someone who can meet the absolute essential requirements in a relationship that's going to make the best relationship for them. They tend to just fall into relationship, and there's nothing conscious about that. And relationships that generally start in this way always tend to end a little bit later on down the track. And I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to be in that situation. So just don't fall into a relationship. Choose it consciously. Be number one, because you're number one. Bye now.